take a chance on me. Destination Newry, it's the morning programme reaching out across the planet. And the message now comes from Try the Alternative, Joanne Callan.
That's me.
How are you?
I'm good, Ron, thank you. Yeah.
You look wonderful this morning, and you, as always, are a most fragrant individual. You're come from the floral beds of your domicile here to be with us and to uplift our gaze beyond the horizon of our immediate caring. You are allowed to tell me to shut up and stop talking nonsense. Yes.
Talk away. Talk away.
Yeah. What sort of week has it been, Joanne?
It's been a good week. I find it very hard to believe we're at the end of January.
Yes, absolutely.
It's just been, in one hand it seems like Christmas is a very distant memory, and on the other hand it seems, where did January go?
We're
already through the first month of 2014.
Yeah, and we've had to send off our tax returns and things like that.
All that has to be done.
Well, better be done by tomorrow.
Indeed, yes.
I've sent a letter with mine to Her Majesty. I said, Dear Your Majesty, this is Rowan again. I write to her and talk to her. I said, in all honesty, I don't want you to spend my cheque on war or weaponry. I don't want you to do that. I want you to give it to hospice so that your government, mom, as you see, we moms in there as well, so that your government will be able to fund 100% of the fiscal requirements of Newry, of the Southern Area Hospice in Newry. Now, I don't know, I've enclosed a stamped addressed envelope, which I think is maybe generous of me.
Yes, indeed. So you might get a reply.
Yeah. Have you done any work up in hospice with people there?
Not as yet.
Some alternative therapists
have
done.
There are quite a few that do particularly reflexology. I think it's a massage and things like that.
Yeah, so, it's important because people can it's great. The reason for mentioning this is because Newry and Mourne District Council, you won't know this across the world, they're now at long last demanding that government fund hospice 100%. At the moment, hospice is only funded 30%. So that has got to change. So we're not taking any credit for it here on the programme, but a month ago we launched our campaign to have this happen, to make this pressure on go political and put the pressure on.
Well, it's a service that I suppose touches everybody really, doesn't it?
Well, it is, and the thing is about hospice, people, it's their end-of-life experience very often, and that has got to be as trouble-free as one can make it,
Definitely.
And it's great that you guys in the holistic medical world are involved there and do good things there.
I think one of the big things is, I would do some work in nursing homes and things like that, and I think one of the things is that as people get older, it's and particularly if there's a cancer diagnosis or things like that, that people become afraid to touch them because we've still got a thought of that it's contagious nearly.
Cancer, the modern leprosy.
Yeah, that type of thing. And I know not when it's very close loved ones, obviously, people still, but that there's a reservation maybe. And the feedback that I've got, as I say, through nursing homes and things like that, is that it's just lovely to have comfort in it, and
it is, but
that human feeling.
It's lovely to hear you say that, because I have seen a few people pass away, and I've monitored the journey, and it isn't easy, but I've been impressed by the courage and the humanity of those embarked upon the journey, and it's impressed me greatly. So we need to see beyond the obvious barriers and realize that the broken person is there more beautiful than ever before in the brokenness, I think that's a huge freedom for a person.
Yeah, definitely.
How to do it. On the other end of the spectrum, how are your relaxed kids people?
My kids are good, they're all the number of schools actually embracing relaxed kids is increasing. So
all the time.
All the time. So and it's certainly seems to be an area that people are very interested in. So and it's just something different for the children. There's no competition. There's no, they can just come and just be themselves, and that's. But seeing some really quite remarkable results in terms of children who would have been very shy, very reserved, just building their confidence, because I suppose the relaxed kids name is maybe a slight distraction from the bigger picture of what happens as well. But we're working on confidence and self-esteem and concentration, focus, and all of those things that help to build a child up, really.
Yeah. And increasingly, parents are aware of that necessity. You know, in the old days, if a child was dysfunctional in some way, it was put down to just the mood or put down to something else. But you're now proactive in trying to do something about all kinds of small difficulties through childhood.
That can make a big difference to the child. So, and I think generally just being surrounded by positive words. I mean, at the start of each class, the children pass around a peace stone. And I have a wee boy that was at goes to my Saturday classes, but he also goes now doing some work in Clog School, and he attends there. And when I took it out the other day, he was busy whispering to all his friends, I know what it is, I know what it is, it's the peace stone, and filling them all in. So it's fun to have them even think about those type of words.
Oh yes, of course it is.
Which I think is important.
Yeah. Did you design the course yourself?
No, it's a program designed by a lady called Marnetta Vegas, and it's one of the biggest children's relaxation programs, and certainly there's more and more different programs coming on. But Relax Kids was first introduced about 10 years ago, so it was quite ahead of its time, really, before people started talking about mindfulness and meditation and things like that.
Are you tempted to? It's 10 years old now, on the basis of personal experience in Ireland. Are you tempted to build on it and to put your own slant on it?
The beauty of it is that you do. I mean, every class, every coach is their own unique coach. We follow the Relax Kids program. I honestly think it's tried and tested, and there's very little, which was one of the reasons I chose it. I probably could have designed a fairly similar program, because it's not very different from what I do with adults and things like that. But for me, the brand, there's a lot of resources there that parents can access and use. And I think, for me personally, I don't see the point really in reinventing the wheel. If there's something there, and it's great to have a network. I mean, there's a network. Don't fix it if
it's not broken.
Yeah, and there's a network of coaches that we can work together with, and we support each other in whatever might come up. And
so the schools are enthusiastic about it.
Very much so.
Are the parents enthusiastic? Do the parents understand the need for it?
Well, certainly in terms of the number of children that are signing up for future courses, they certainly seem to. So that's positive. You can only, I suppose, go by the numbers that are turning up. Of course.
So
great.
Your program, Destination Wellbeing, how long is it? It's well established now,
well established. September time, so
September
we're into a month. 4 or 5.
We share an almost common genesis.
Yes, it was around about the same time, I think. So, yes, it's going. Today's show, actually, I'm chatting to Michael McCoy, who's
a hypnotist.
Yeah.
He's a comedian. He's a fellow that does stage work.
Well, he does stage work, but he also does practice work as well.
Have you deduced from Michael what it's all about, hypnosis?
Well, I made we were having a chat, and I mentioned to him that I'd never been hypnotized
and couldn't be.
And he said, "Well, have you ever slowed down when you've seen a police car, or have you ever seen?" So he said, it's suggestion. It's just subliminal suggestion. So you see, one's a visual hypnosis as such, in the sense that you see a police car and you check your speed or you slow down.
But I don't know about you, Joanne, but certainly for me, there is no process in God's earth that could be applied to me that would make me stand on my head and sing "God Save the Queen." I don't know.
I think we have a challenge on our hands.
I couldn't do this. I am impossible to hypnotize.
No, I think, and I do think there's the entertainment value that comes from it, and I think people can really only be hypnotized if they want to be. So if they're willing, yes,
to let themselves go.
Yeah. So I don't think there's a concern that just because you're in conversation with a hypnotist that you're going to end up hypnotized. I think it's if you're willing to go with it, then you can be. But Mike's very interestingly involved in which will be a pretty big mind, body and spirit show on the Waterfront Hall in March time, the
Yeah.
2nd of March, and that we were in chatting just about the show itself. And
is it a live show today? Or it's recorded
no,
already?
recorded already,
Yeah.
yes. But it goes out today at 3
And is
o'clock.
he? I take nothing away from him, but I need to ask the question: is he seriously using this technique to actually affect the well-being of people?
Yeah, I mean, there are quite a number of people who use hypnotherapy rather than, I think it's important for me anyway, it's important to distinguish the difference between a hypnotherapist and hypnosis in terms of the show, the entertainment value, a hypnotist maybe.
Yeah.
And
hypnotherapy is different. I will certainly relax into a hypnotic kind of flotation state and allow my mind to be taken over with gentle thoughts. That's fine. And but I remember Michael, he was a magician at one time, at the early days. And I remember being lowered into Newry Canal in a box and Houdini-esque coming out of the box. He was tied up and all the rest of it in the box. But he's a young man, and he's been at the forefront of this kind of thing for as long as I can remember. Yeah.
But there are people who very successfully use hypnosis and powerful suggestion and that relaxed state for weight loss, for smoking.
Yeah.
There equally are people who don't, but there are people who it does work for. And as I said, the Mind, Body, Spirit show will be, I would imagine, looking at the list of people there, that anybody that's interested in health and well-being, there's one in Derry in the Millennium Forum on the 23rd of February, and then the week later in the Waterfront. But for anybody who's interested in finding out a bit more about holistic well-being in general, Michael just happens to be part of the team that's running it. It's not exclusively about hypnotherapy or anything like that. And there's quite a very interesting lineup of very, very accomplished therapists and speakers. So
sounds good to me. It sounds as good as it gets.
Well,
really.
yeah, and worth going. I think these things are useful if you're interested in finding out a little bit about a lot of stuff and figuring out what bit works for you, and you get to meet people. Because the internet can give you a certain amount of information, and Destination Wellbeing is hopefully providing to be another source of information for people. But nothing beats meeting people face to face and having a chat with them and seeing how they can help you. And there's always options. There's always something that can help, I think.
And the one in Belfast is when?
It's the 2nd of March.
2nd of March,
2nd of March.
When did all of this holistic emphasis begin? Did it coincide with the internet coming, or what's its provenance?
No, well, I suppose there's always been people...
It wasn't happening when I was growing up.
Yeah, well, it was probably happening in a different form. People knew, there was always somebody that had cures for things, and there was always... there
St.
wasn't
Bridget's
the
Well,
same.
up the road.
Yes, St. Bridget's Day on
put your
Saturday.
head into that stone and your headaches will go. And put your knee in there. Oh, I'll go up there with my knee, yes.
Yeah, actually, yes. And today, or Saturday, is St. Bridget's Day. So I usually do the candlelit procession first.
Do you?
Yeah, it's very nice. It's a lovely,
You're
nice
a pious
experience.
little person.
Well,
how dare I say little person? You're a wonderful, enormously talented person. I'm sorry, that sounded demeaning.
Oh, not at all.
But
No offense.
you walk with the candle.
Yeah, and there's just, I suppose St. Bridget ties in with both the Christian side of things and also the Celtic.
Yeah, you would also be attracted to her because she's a very, very powerful woman.
Yes.
And she was in her life.
Yeah, and the Celtic side of it is the goddess Bridget.
The goddess Bridget, and she represented so many of the facets of femininity and womanliness,
So we've got the crossover, I think, with quite a lot of Irish saints and things like that between the Celtic pagan time and Christianity. And I do definitely find a visit to St. Bridget's Shrine very relaxing and very...
And there's a nice little wooded area, small trees are there.
It's a nice space. I mean, if you...
And the nuns have a convent there.
Further up, the Poor-Clares.
The Poor-Clares, they're a monastic order of Poor-Clares.
But I think, nature for me is where it all happens, and I do think there's a stillness in it, and it's a beautiful part of
Be still and know that I am with you.
Yeah, that's the...
yes, I remember.
So that'll be Saturday's evening planned for me.
Yeah, and that's an evening event.
It's an evening event, yeah. It's done. It's a walk from the shrine at Faughart, the graveyard, the old graveyard at Faughart, down to the shrine.
And yes, I wish you well with that.
Thank you. I've been doing it for a number of years. Well, I always did it as a child. So.
You're a treasure house of
Random
memorabilia.
things.
No, that's wonderful.
A mix of all sorts of
For
stuff
any
going
human
on,
being to have done something from childhood and to sustain it in adulthood, that's good.
Yeah.
That is good.
Now, I probably slipped away for a few years in different things, depending on where I
yeah.
was and what I was doing. But
Well, you can't go on processions and sell coffee at the same time.
no, you can't.
This
No,
woman
certainly
was
not. Certainly not coffee in London or Manchester or wherever coffee might need to be
Your
sold.
coffee,
You can't be processioning in Fahard if you're in London selling
yeah.
coffee, or training coffee.
Yeah, you went to London, did you? Yeah.
I worked for BB's in the UK for about 18 months doing store openings. So my life revolved for about 18 months around Groundhog Day. I was somewhere different every 2 weeks, reliving the same things.
What's Groundhog Day?
Where your day just repeats, basically, over and over and over
He
again.
He laughed when I asked that. Am I terribly silly not knowing that?
We'll have to get you a copy of the Groundhog Day, the film, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, yes, yeah.
But it's that idea where your day repeats. But because I worked on the new store opening team, I had every 2 weeks, it was the same cycle. It was back. Yeah. So we take over a site, and then the builders would head off to do the next one.
I know a film, Shawshank Redemption. Yeah. It was very good. And there was a moment in it when the guy locked himself in the room and put the record on, and it started to play.
Very powerful film.
Wow.
I think
it's a huge film.
Well up there on most people's list of favourite films.
It is. It is indeed. Thank you for coming in.
You're very welcome.
Have you anything you want to ask me?
Well, we had your chat about your knee, so...
Yeah, knee is not good.
Yeah.
Not good. But I'm delighted to have the pain that some old person doesn't have it instead of me.
And working through it. So
and working through it and making sure... Mark McAvoy is the world's greatest doctor, and he said to me, he can be silly at times, he said to me, Ron, there's only one thing that's going to make it better, you will have to rest it.
Yeah,
How
that's it.
do I rest a knee? I can't do that. I need to keep going. I would... my knee might get better, but I'd be mentally distraught at having to sit in the one place all day long.
Well, I would need you to, at a relaxed kids class, to allow you to accept the stillness and the relaxation time.
I can have stillness, but if my mind is full of things I should be doing, I have
it's learning
stillness.
to block those.
No, you mustn't block them because you plan your stillness into your agenda, I think, and that's the way to do it. But anyway, you would know more about this than I do.
Well, each experience is different, but sometimes when the body's calling out to us to rest and be still, then we need to learn to control the monkey mind and not let it run away and just do what the body says.
Has it got a monkey mind?
Yep, that's it. So I think the words of Mark McAvoy were probably very accurate, and there are certain things that the holistic world and the mainstream medical world agree on, and rest and the importance of it's one of them. So
I'm also going to build. I think it's important when I'm talking about building in your day. I have a 6.5 day working week. That's what I have, but I cheat on the half day because the half day is the Sunday, and Sunday is theoretically the day I write my column, but I allow it to drift a wee bit. But I need to get back to focusing on it because I was doing my column at 3 o'clock this morning before coming in here, and then sending it to Paddy in the Democrat when I got in here on the memory stick. But it's a matter of really planning your week, and that's my week. Those are my days. That's my half day for the column. Sunday afternoon, then maybe that's the time to rest the knee and to go to a peaceful place under the foothills of Rostrevor or whatever. Yeah. Thanks for coming in.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me on this morning.
Oh, you're great.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
I shall. We're going to the much more ugly world now of the News Hub. I think that's where we'll go, Dee. Is that okay with you? And we'll do that and bring that to you. That's Damien Rafferty, who's running the studio today. Thank you very much.
South African called Hannibal, rocky road, sitting down the avenue. Went out to see the Roman Empire fall. what you make it.